Good day, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Collective. I'm your host, James Hicks from Hicks New Media. And you know, on this show, we focus on the people, the platforms, and the tools that are making positive strides within the technology sector. My guest today, Mr. Roy Richardson, known online adorably as the tech troublemaker. Love it. Love the nickname. Roy's been in enterprise technology for a long time. We were talking behind the scenes. I'm sure we've crossed paths somewhere in our journey. He's at everything from taking systems apart, putting them back together, writing code, pulling cables in data centers, doing all the things, right? He's an educator. He's also an author. And like me, look, he's a self-proclaimed geek for Apple and for Apple. I mean, for Apple and Google. I had my Google shirt on today. I should have kept it on, but I decided to wear another shirt, but we'll get into that later. Listen, when it comes to creating content across his various channels, you can easily find him doing tutorials, how-tos, and informational sessions for folks who are also looking to level up their systems, productions, and overall reach. Today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about smart homes, smart home studios. We're going to talk about some of the tools, techniques, best practices. I'm going to pick his brain. I've got my notepad. If you got questions, this is the guy to ask. After the break, it's going to be Roy. Roy, I'm looking for a VIC 20 on eBay right now. During the break, I was looking. I want to go back to the glory days of when you and I were coding BASIC on a VIC 20. How are you, man?
I am doing great. Yeah, I was literally taking the code from the back of the book that came in the owner's manual and was trying to figure out how could I do something different with it than I actually did a school project where I wrote a song using the peaks and pokes. You know, you had to do that and you had to go tell the program to play the sound. So I turned that into my teacher as my assignment. I got an A for that. She's like, "Can I use this?" I said, "Do you have a VIC 20?" She's like, "No." Well, so without even hearing my song, I got an A on the project. So
I love it. That's how far we go back. And again, we're not old. We're just seasoned. We've been around the block twice, 3 or 4 times. It doesn't matter. But you know, that goes without saying. That's just having history, having insight, having knowledge is a good thing. For my community who may not know you, and some of them may also know you, listen, we're using some fantastic technology today where we're actually multi-streaming on not just my channels, but your channels. So shouts out to Restream and Restream Pairs for that capability. If you don't mind giving a little bit of your origin story. Right, I gave kind of that 10,000 foot elevator pitch, and listen, I know that. So I there's so much I know. Let's boil it down into the context more again of content creation. So, like when you started creating content, why you create content about the topics that you do, if you don't mind just going kind of into that.
Oh yeah, so I teach part time. So my day job, I'm a full time IT professional. I had some student loans. You know, I went to grad school and that type of thing, and I always wanted to teach. So I teach part-time at a local college and a local technical college. And so, you know, for a while there was no place to post videos. Students would ask me a question and I'd say, you know, I could do a video about that and I'll post it on YouTube. And then you can look at that. I don't have to repeat myself and over and again, and then you can watch it. And then if you have questions, you know, I'll expand upon that in class. And so originally I got started YouTube content creation, not to start a channel per se, but I just need to store some videos somewhere because at the time, the schools I'm teaching at did not have the technology in place to really host videos and that type of thing. So that's where it started. And then last year I did LIDA Challenge, which is live every day in April, and got excited about live streaming. I had bought Ecamm. I'm an OG for Ecamm.
Okay, listen at him. Okay, doing the pitch for Ecamm.
Oh, I know. Well, Ecamm is my favorite software for live streaming, but there's definitely OBS and so many others. And if you're on a PC, probably vMix is the way to go. But and then Restream rocks as well. But I was an OG for Ecamm, so I pay one price and I owned it. And then later they added some functionality. Say, yeah, for just a little bit more, we'll subscribe and we'll give you the functionality to do interviews and that type of thing. And so it just started there. My goal is to basically share my knowledge about a lot of things. And then there's some things where I've spent hours and hours and hours, or I've spent money taking training classes to learn different things. And I'm just very much about sharing my knowledge. If I learn something, sometimes I think I'm the beggar that knows where the bread is to tell the next beggar how to find it. And so that's my goal, is to anything I learned to share it and to give it to anybody that wants it.
This man said he is the beggar who knows where the bread. That's going to be the clip right there that I'm going to use for this whole thing. Come on now, y'all didn't know it that Tech Troublemaker Roy was going to come with that kind of knowledge. See everybody coming in the comments. Appreciate you all being here. Listen, Richard, see you. Dr. Strong in the building, Anna and Big Red and Jim, we see it too. Let's go ahead and get into it though, man. That's some good stuff. Let's talk about content creation. Let's talk about setting up our environments. Talk about smart home, smart studio, right? A lot of times when we have the conversation with folks, either our peers or our contemporaries or family, whatever, and they say, I want to do a smart home. Okay, that's cool, right? I mean, again, see, your reaction right there is kind of the same reaction that I think a lot of us in technology get as well. Because, man, that's such an open-ended statement.
It is.
So I'm going to let you lead the discussion. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm going to let that marinate, and I'm going to let you say, okay, Roy, I want a smart home. I do content creation. I want my environment to be smart. Where do you start having the conversation with folks that are interested in that?
Well, it's funny enough. It was a few years back. There was a video of Bill Gates' house and how he had turned his home into a smart home, and he had all these gadgets. And he literally had to pull this panel down and push a button, and then all these things happen. And this was before voice-enabled devices really came into being.
Yeah.
But to get started with a smart home, you need either an Alexa device or a Google Nest Mini. That's all you need to start there.
So smart. Hold on, let me make sure. Okay, I did turn off all of my smart assistants in the office here, because you're going to start dropping names, and I don't want Siri or Alexa to just wake up. So, okay,
the one that starts with a G hasn't jumped in the conversation yet. But then, you get a Belkin or a TP-Link smart outlet, a smart plug, and you put it in the wall, and you put it right beside you in the living room, and you plug your lamp right there beside the couch, and you plug it in, and then you go in, you name that device something in the software for TP-Link or Belkin or whatever brand you're using, and then you get into the Alexa app and you go in and tell it how to find it. You add it as a routine to be able to turn that device on, and then you say, Alexa, turn on lamp. And that's how the addiction starts.
That's what I wanted to hear. Literally right there, right? Because so let me backtrack. It sounds, when you lay it out like that, and I made the joke before we went on, pull out the whiteboard here and actually do a demonstration. There's a lot of intricate steps that are required to get it done, right? And to the layman, to someone probably again not within technology, that can buying a what Belkin TP what buying that stuff. Connecting that stuff, knowing the SSID, knowing that you don't want your SSID, broadcast, doing all of the behind the scenes administrative piece. But then when you start plugging stuff in and you start seeing the capabilities and the functionality, that's when literally and figuratively the light switch goes off for people. And they're like, oh man, I can go to Best Buy and get these Hue lights, and I can have them green and red and yellow and doing this. I can have these light bulbs turn on and off, or these switches. That, like you say, that's when you kind of open up the floodgates. How do you tell folks kind of maybe put the brakes on and try to be more conscious about their activities when it comes to designing a smart? Because again, you can go broke. Listen, these lights aren't cheap, right?
Yeah,
so,
for example, I was talking to you. I have TP-Link light switches all over the house, so I literally can tell Alexa or that thing that starts with a G, the Nest device to power on all the lights in the house with just one command. I can like turn the whole house on. I can, because every room has a smart device in it. And the crazy thing, I started off with a Google Mini, and then I went and well, actually, Google sent me a free one. I have a very long relationship with Google. They have sent me
Yeah,
free
let's
stuff
talk
for a
about that.
long
Hold on.
period of time.
Who do I need to get in contact with? Well,
I
I'm not
don't
going to
know. It
interrupt you.
originally well, I bought a Google Mini search appliance. That's probably was a start, and they gave me a T-shirt with that.
Okay.
And then one day a friend of mine called me and says, "Hey, you're getting one of the CR48s," and of course you don't know that was the first gen Chromebook, and so they gave away 60,000 to like influencers and the press. And I'm like, well, wait, you saw me on Twitter? He says, yeah, they're announcing who got him on Twitter. And he's like, I saw your name, and you're the only one that has that name that I know. And then 10 minutes later, the doorbell rings and UPS is here with the Chromebook. I'm like,
That
okay,
is
this is getting
cool.
creepy.
That is cool.
So I've been a Google fan for a long time, and they sent me a Google Mini, and that kind of started that. And I bought an Alexa device. It came with something else I bought. But the thing I'm finding is that the Google Mini is great for, very direct commands, but Google doesn't have a lot of personality, unfortunately.
That's
The
true.
Alexa device has a lot more personality and is more forgiving when you say the wrong command. Is, oh, did you mean so and so? I find that's much easier. But if you're just starting out, I would say get an Alexa device. Now, the downside here for any of this is you have to worry about your privacy
Yes, talk
because
about that.
you're like, so for example, don't put smart device in your bathroom or your bedroom. Just going to tell you that. I just don't think it should be there. But
And why? And I
why?
know why, but again, I never like to assume, especially when we're talking about technology topics,
Because
because of what's going
regardless of
on.
what the documentation says, the device is always listening.
There it is. Yeah.
But it's listening supposedly for the trigger words.
Mm-hmm.
So Alexa's listening for you to say Alexa. Now, in my house, because my daughter's name is very similar to Alexa, I had to rename and use one of the other trigger words. So, Ziggy is the one I'm using right now because Jeff Bezos went up in space. So he made that one of the possible. You can do Echo, you can do Alexa, you can do Ziggy, or you can do computer. My 4-year-old.
There it is.
Jumping in. My daughter at 4 years old couldn't say computer either, so I couldn't use computer. So I thought that's cool, Star Trek, but that didn't work. So I've named this one beside me Ziggy, and so you start with that one device, and then you get some smart device that can control, and then with your mobile phone, you load the Alexa app, and you program the Alexa device, and then after you add that first device, whatever it may be, Belkin has. So the crazy thing gets a little complicated is that if you buy devices from multiple companies, you unfortunately have to download their app
True.
to
True.
program. So I have to go get the Casa app for all the TP-Link devices. I have to go get the Belkin app for all the Belkin devices. I have to get the APC app for all the APC devices.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then if you buy the cheapest devices on Amazon, you're going to get a lot of crazy named devices because they're made by different, Taiwan or China
True.
or Korea. And so their company names are going to be interesting. And so, like, what's Juvie? It's a Juvie app I've got on there.
Yeah,
So, but
it may
they're for
say
a
that
bit.
it goes by the protocol. So hold. I want to go somewhere because you're
Sure.
going down a path, and I want to make sure that we're
Well,
not.
steer me back.
Yeah, I'm bring you back in just a little bit, and I see Victor in the comments right there, and he knows about this as well. So shouts out to Victor, shouts out to Sammy, everyone joining in. Donna, we see you as well. Um, Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant, three name brands everybody knows. I'm going to say, and I always say, you get what you pay for. Right.
Yes.
So know the brand that you're using and know the brand of the infrastructure that's running your household, right? From a smart home perspective, there's a lot, there are other brand manufacturers out there, a ton of OEMs out there, a ton of other companies that are starting up, but tried and true, the ones that have already been in the game, who kind of already have that not customer retention, but that respect of the everyday consumer.
Right.
Start there, right? As opposed to going out and
Yes.
trying to get one of the newer brands. Yeah, the bells and whistles maybe with some of the newer companies, but you have a
Yeah.
Google or a Apple phone, so you know about the Google Assistant, you know about the iOS
Yes,
environment.
I do.
Amazon doesn't have a phone, but again, you shop on Amazon. I'm talking to everybody out here. You shop on Amazon Prime every single day. I do.
Yes.
So you know that company, you know that infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
One other thing before I move on, that security piece, I don't want to gloss over that as well. These devices, even though they say they're not listening, even though there are flags that you can set to tell it not to actively listen and not to actively send that information to the cloud, 75% of the time, I don't know what the percentage is, but a high percentage, it's still listening, and there is still somewhere in the EULA, the end user license agreement, somewhere in the environment where you decide, I use the word that only Roy would know right there, technology folks.
Yes.
Somewhere in the acknowledgement of you buying and using these particular devices, there are settings to whereas you are by default opting in to allow Google, Amazon, and Apple to hear you and know what you're doing to try to train those infrastructure and try to train those products to be better. Kind of makes sense, right? But again, you don't want these things in your room. You don't want these things in the bathroom. There are certain places that you don't want them, and you want to opt out of a lot of that automation needs to be turned off, as opposed to these systems trying to do every single thing for you. You still want to have some control over this. I wanted to hit that before we got over that, because that was something that, is really critical and really important for folks. Again, not in the technology field.
Yeah.
Who don't know about that kind of thing. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And I was going to say, if you have one of those devices in your house, they're going to pick up occasionally on something you said that sounded like their trigger word. But the crazy thing is, like, I have no idea how that, I said whatever word I just said sounded like Alexa. I have no idea. How's that even possible? So it'll pop up and it will randomly answer a question you didn't ask. Oh, you want to know about so-and-so? Like, I didn't ask you anything. So yes, if you want to know if your privacy is being invaded, yes, it is. There have been documented cases where police warrants have been, put against Amazon to basically give the information out. Amazon says when the trigger word happens, it kind of picks up a few seconds before and a few seconds after before it shuts down after it does that communication. For example, if you ever have an iPhone and you take a picture, have that live photo option, how it takes just a few seconds before and a few seconds after before you take a picture. Think of that happening with audio with those smart devices. They are always listening, and then they're going to record when you do say the trigger word. They're going to take the last few seconds before you said the trigger word and a few seconds after it completes the operation to keep up with that. And so police have gotten warrants in order to get that information for, whether it be a murder or theft or something like that. So it is something you have to set your boundaries. You have to decide what level of privacy you're willing to give up for the convenience.
Yeah. Well, look, you think about it. I've got Ring devices as well, right? So I got a Ring doorbell, and part of the whole Ring ecosystem, again, to try to be more understanding and try to be more functional for the owner, is allowing what we used to call war driving, essentially allowing people around you to have access to your internet connection. Wait a minute, what?
Yes.
And it's turned on by default. It's so that, again, if the police need something, if the Amazon driver coming up has access to go into your garage, that they have a decent Wi-Fi signal. So these Ring devices talk to themselves within your block by default. So you got to opt out of that. This is it's not scary stuff, but it's stuff to be cognizant of, right? So again, it's trying to make us sufficient, trying to make us have a nice autonomy with these automated devices and all, but you just have to know what you're opting into. I keep looking at this comment. I keep laughing at it. What Donna was saying, look, you can drop in on your on your devices when you're not home. If your child doesn't answer their phone, you can drop in on them. Listen, Donna's probably got cameras focused on the front door, inside and outside, and at the kitchen. That's
Yeah.
where I would have it. I would have it at the refrigerator because I've got teenagers as well.
No, that
That's a
would be
good idea
embarrassing
right
for
there.
me. I go to the refrigerator too often. I do have one at the back door though. But yeah, we have a lot of cameras in our house. We use both Nest. We have a Nest doorbell. Um, we have Blink cameras all over the house. So Blink are
Yeah,
from Amazon bought Blink. So Blink's part of the Amazon ecosystem. You were talking about that low level frequency that uses part of your internet bandwidth on the Ring. The Amazon Echo devices have that as well. They call it Sidewalk.
that's what it is. Sidewalk, correct?
Yep,
Yeah,
it's called Sidewalk. It uses a small portion of your internet bandwidth in order to allow devices to communicate with others in your neighborhood. The original hyped thing is Amazon and Tile. So everybody's gotten all the air tags from
wow, you
Apple.
said tile.
Apple
I don't.
came
That's
out to
a
compete
okay.
with
You flashing back.
the Tile sensors,
Yeah,
and so Amazon and Tile hooked up to try to figure out a way to make it where Tile was still a viable device. So it supposedly uses that frequency to help you find lost devices. So your Echo devices talk to the Echo devices over that frequency. And as soon as I heard about it, I'm like, oh, off,
yes.
turn that off. That's off right now. Get in the Alexa app and turn that Sidewalk off. So,
Turn that off. Listen,
um,
I think we may have a side consulting offering for you, right? So right now you just talked about 5 or 6 services that you could provide folks just in smart home knowledge and a smart home tutorial. So next time you do a vlog every day in either April or August, whatever,
yeah,
that whole month, just do a whole session on smart home design
there
and
you go.
telling
I'll need to
folks
know that for August.
what they should and what they
Um,
should not do.
but but the cool thing that I like about the convenient things is like I can do a broadcast in my house and say
Yeah,
supper's ready, and then the kids run downstairs and we eat supper. Convenient things like that, or you will come down and take the trash out right now, or take the recycle out right now, so I can yell that up on the broadcast. Or, and it's funny, I'll say, Alexa, dinner's broadcast, supper's ready, and it'll ring a little dinner bell sound, and then broadcast supper's ready using your voice. Those are convenient things. I can use it to unlock my front door.
yeah,
My front door is also smart. Um, you know, it a little crazy. I have the Nest mini hub, so we can constantly view our Nest doorbell through that. So we'll say Google show front door, and so constantly we're able to monitor front door. I don't know why. We're literally sitting on the couch and the front door's behind us, but we're constantly able to
Well,
look and
if it's the
see.
DoorDash person, or if it's the pizza that's
Yeah,
being delivered,
that's true.
that's when everyone
Um,
gets up. But you're not
and
getting up if it's someone just passing out flyers for landscaping services. That's just what
and
I did
then
today. I'm sorry. So hopefully
yeah.
I didn't offend any but I didn't get up when the landscaping guy. All right, there we go. See, squirrel. I digress.
Oh, I know. And I was
Um,
gonna say they also have facial recognition. So if you go in and tag who the people are, it will tell you, hey, so and so's at the front door.
yeah.
And then yeah. So anyway, but yes, squirrel. Back to you, sir.
Well, this is all relevant information, though, because again, and we can hone it back to and bring it back into the content creation ecosystem. I want to
Yes.
answer this one question before we go into that, because Mr. Worthy was asking which one do we like the best, right? Of the Google side, the Apple side, the Amazon side. I keep looking over here because I'm looking at each one of them literally right over
One
here. So
there,
I
one
don't have a
there,
favorite
one
child.
over there.
Yeah.
The lights.
But I mean, so I'll start. It all I think depends on the majority of the infrastructure in your
Yes.
working world. So primarily your mobile device, right? If you're an
Yes.
Android person, you're probably going to lean more towards Amazon and towards Google. Obviously, if you're an iOS person and you are deep in the Apple ecosystem, Siri's getting better. She's not as smart as Amazon. Amazon is probably the most skilled and customizable.
Yes.
Google is probably, in my opinion, the most advanced, though, right? Because listen,
Yes.
Google it runs the planet. It does. Amazon is definitely more focused on the consumer because I can order my off of my Amazon Live, subscribe and buy stuff, and I could just tell the device, "Hey, we ran out of whatever laundry detergent, and it'll be here in a day and a half." That kind of thing. I still really only use my Siri devices for music. And did she just wake up? Oh no, she did. I just use her for music and for looking at my calendar and setting off the Apple TV. So kind of in that order. I think it depends for me on my mobile devices and my ecosystem. Amazon is king, and then I'll say Siri. But when it comes to overall, if I can't find it there, Google really again, you're not going to go wrong with having
Yeah.
Steve, buy all three. Just you've got all kind of money. Steve Worthy, buy all three. Yeah. I'll
Steve,
send you some
yeah.
affiliate links in about an hour, brother.
Um,
what about you, Roy?
So yeah, that's the order for me too. I was really hoping originally I was going to be exclusively Google. Until a couple of years ago, I've been an Android person since whenever the Verizon Droid came out. Whenever the first Motorola Droid came out, I've been an Android person since then.
Okay.
And so I've been a Google fanboy forever. Of course, I've been a Mac fanboy for an Apple fanboy for a long time too. So it's kind of a weird kind of dichotomy. I joke, in a given day, I might touch 4 different operating systems. 4 or 5 different operating systems, where it's Chrome OS, some flavor of Linux or Unix, Windows, Mac OS, I guess iOS technically. But yeah, I tried with Google, but Google just wasn't user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed something everybody in the family could easily use. My wife's in technology, so she could handle it. But hey, I don't want to torture the kids. So I got an Amazon device for free with something, and then we found out it was just so much easier to use the Amazon device. So Amazon is king in our house. Google's here, and Google's the best for kitchen timers. When Thanksgiving comes, that is the best device to manage the 5 or 6 timers you need at Thanksgiving. So that's my bonus tip there.
There it is, right there, folks. You're only gonna get that right here on the Digital Collective. Tech Troublemaker is telling you if when the turkey needs to be right.
Yes.
Don't mess around. Don't mess around. I see Richard's got the Connect 4. Yeah, that's, he's controlling all of his other stuff, his TVs and his speakers with that. But look, when the turkey has to be right,
yes,
you got to go get to Google.
Apple messed up and missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
Siri was first. It could have done so many things, but it took so long before HomeKit devices were out there.
Mm-hmm.
It was so cheap to get into the Amazon or the Google world with any smart device that everybody went that direction. And then for a while there, you had to have the Zigbee hubs, or you had to have the Philips hubs and that type of thing. And that was just a hard pattern for entry. It just cost too much to join into that.
Yeah.
And now finally there are HomeKit devices. And I think from a privacy standpoint, if you can afford a home speaker, you could do Siri in your house and it will work very well. And you could do HomeKit devices. There's enough out there now. Eco has a smart thermostat that the Ecobee smart thermostat does work with HomeKit. It was the first one that I'm aware of. I think there were some others, but you could do HomeKit, and Apple does respect your privacy better than the others. Not perfect. They're still listening to you all the time, but I feel like Apple does a better job of respecting our privacy. So if I started over again now, I might try to go the HomeKit route and be exclusively Siri. But the cost to get into it, you got to go Google or Amazon. That is the cheapest way to go. There's so many devices out there to support it. So that's where I'm at.
That's true. And I think one thing that is probably a deterrent, I don't want to say a deterrent, but the fact that we can be early adopters and we can be kind of on the bleeding edge, we see and we saw a lot of those issues with these platforms, right? We saw when Apple Maps was trash. Right. And we see it now getting better. We saw when HomeKit was just, nobody had, and Apple didn't even have HomeKit devices. But now, even in a relatively short period of time, we're starting to see kind of a blurring of those protocols and a blurring of the integration and the ability. Like you said, I've got 2 Ecobee thermostats in the house right now. And they're connected to my iPhone. They're connected to my Alexas. So a lot of that stuff is happening to where they work together. Right. Bringing it back a little bit to So we talked kind of about the whole home for the most part, and we talked about smart
Right.
locks, we talked about smart doorbells and food timers and stuff like that. It's a good one. I'm gonna remember that for November. Um,
Yeah.
in your room right now, right in your studio, in your broadcast area, what kind of lighting are you using in terms of protocols? What type of switching are you using? I know I'm sure you can talk to something and tell
Yes.
the lights to do something. So I
I
love to
I
talk
can.
about that and what you would recommend for someone just starting and wanting to have some of that
Right.
automation again. So that everyone has their run of show from a content creation perspective, but that
Sure.
checklist of what we do ahead of time. How do we make sure these lights all come on? How do we make sure that the AC comes on? That type of stuff. What do you
Yeah.
have in your particular studio, Roy?
So in my studio, I have a Google device and two Alexa devices in the same room, and so very, very, very accessible to me at all times. In fact, they join in conversations all day long for me. But for example, I have uh, two lights right in front of me. I have those on an APC smart UPS that I can control with either Google or Alexa. And so I will say, "Hey, Ziggy, turn on Roy's desk," and it will turn on my lights. I have more LEDs behind me. I can turn those off and on. Also, I have the Google device, so I can set the air. I can tell the Nest thermostat to turn on the air to a certain temperature for me. And luckily for content creators, though, there's a lot of things that are now Bluetooth. So these lights are also accessible via Bluetooth. So is like my LED device back here is a Bluetooth device. So, you know, the entry to automation to be able to from your desk and not have to run back behind. Because when I first started,
Mm.
the
Mm-hmm.
lights, I had to go climb behind the lights and hit the big toggle switch to turn them
Yeah.
on. And then I'm having to also tweak the knobs to get it down the temperature of the lights. And I was like, oh, that's 5,600 Kelvin. That's a little too hot here. I need to trim that back there. Um, so, from a content creation standpoint, it's so much easier to get things to automate your setup so that you can literally walk in and say, start my studio and have the lights come on and just get ready to go showtime. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it definitely makes it easier. I yeah, and then I have some older devices that take an old-fashioned remote, but, that's fine. I can live with that, but I can change the colors of my lights very simply with an old remote, but I like having the automation. I'll literally funny enough, I use these same lights for my day job, because I spend all day on Teams and Zoom. Actually, like, the company gave me one camera, but I'm like, "Oh, that ain't good enough. Okay, I gotta get my own. I gotta get a webcam that can do 4K."
Have to.
Um,
Have to.
so, like
I think you can see my there's mine right there. So there's an Elgato face cam right there. I mean
yeah.
I can't use the one that's built into my lap. I got at
Oh, no,
least
it's
you're right.
terrible. It's terrible. But, if you're a content creator and you're just starting out, you get the cell phone. That is your point of entry. You start with that cell phone camera. It is a great camera. You know, the megapixels and stuff on these cameras now and phones, that is the starting point. And then build up a following, and then slowly invest. But you don't have to have that stuff day one. And that's one of the things I like to make a big deal about. Just hit record.
Yeah.
Just record, get started. That journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. It's the same with content creation. That first video will not get made until you hit that record button and just go. And you will tweak your lights. I have replaced these lights multiple times. But the other part that I find along the way is that you can buy cheap a lot of times,
Keep talking.
or
I know
you
where
can
you're
buy
going. Come on, talk
nice
about this right now.
once.
Yeah. Say
You
that
can buy
again.
nice once. And so I try to be much more strategic in my investments now because I have bought a lot of junk
Yeah.
trying to get by, and it was just too much. Hey, Dr. Elo, how you doing out there tonight, sir?
Yeah. So
So,
let's talk about that because again, lot of times, and some of this I'll be repurposing on Amazon Live. And look, you can go on there and just search for lights, RGB
yes,
lights, and you'll get something that costs $5. You'll
yeah,
scroll down and you'll see something that costs $400. Right. And if you don't know brands, right, if you don't know
right,
Nanlite versus Godox versus Neewer, right. So all of these
yeah,
brands, and then you see one that's only that $5 or $10, and you say, well, this is all I need,
yeah,
right? But you don't know about color temperature. You don't know
no,
about photo versus video lights. You don't know
right,
about all of those things, right? In terms of if you're trying to again build out a smart home studio for content creation, be it either video or be it photo, you mess around and you buy the wrong thing, you're going to have flickering issues. You're going to have incorrect coloring issues. We're not even going to talk about properly white balancing your cameras right now yet, folks. I'm not going to do you like that yet. We'll talk about that for another session. We're just talking about practicals and 3-point lighting and air conditioning control and stuff like that. But yet, by going on Amazon or shopping at these places, going to Best Buy or B&H and saying, I just want some lights to make my room pretty, and buying the wrong thing for the wrong job, it's going to look terrible. It's going to look terrible.
It is.
So what are you rocking in there? Let me. I normally don't ask people product stuff, but what are you rocking in your room?
So I have two newer 660 LED RGB lights, but I wanted to have to get shadow boxes because I just couldn't. My studio is kind of small, and I just couldn't get. They were just too hot, and so I wound up having to put. Brain's not working. We'll say shadow boxes, but that's not what the term is.
Soft boxes.
Soft boxes. There we go. Thank you. I had to put soft boxes on them because they were too bright. I couldn't tune them down.
Yeah.
But you got that whole three light idea that people have about having the key light and the backlight and that type of thing. Another great light that a lot of content creators have are the Elgato Key Light. That's a fantastic light, and if I had to do it again, I thought about it several times, but I wound up buying these. They're on sale, and they've been great. I use these things every day of the week for work and for this insane, really, really expensive hobby of content creation that I do. And so it's been great. And, and I've gone through, different mics, different stages in mics, and so I've got a Shure MV7 now. I have a Zoom board. I could easily, I've got a Zoom board, and so I could easily do that. It's not a Rodecaster Pro, mind you, but it's their version of a Rodecaster.
Yeah.
But I go with simple. I go with just a USB mic and take advantage of the software that they put with it. And so, it works great. I like it.
Look, you get in where you fit in, brother. Right? Listen, you get in where, and you sound amazing. You look amazing. Back to what you're using in terms of the key lights, right? So are you using the Elgatos now, or are you using Newers?
No, I'm using the Newers right now. I like them. If I had to do it again, I'd probably go with the Elgatos because these have an issue where Bluetooth doesn't consistently work when you want to turn the temperature down or change the color. So sometimes Bluetooth will just say, I don't feel like talking today. And I'll have to, but luckily I got them on my smart outlet, so I can say, Ziggy, turn off Marcia.
And now you're showing off, ladies and gentlemen.
Did you have to try more than once to get my attention?
No, but thank you.
She's so friendly, isn't she?
Ziggy, turn on Marcia. So this is George and this is Marcia, and then collectively they're Roy's desk. And then I have other lights that are connected as well. But I disconnected them because I'm rearranging the office and I haven't put them back yet. So they're not smart. They're dumb right now.
I love that. I mean, so you've named them Marcia and George. That's cool. Yeah. I love, because my smart vacuums, right? So we have 2-story house, and downstairs is I've named my Roombas after my kids. Downstairs is Isaiah, and upstairs is Jordan, and I'm yelling at them each time they go off. The kids aren't here half the time, but I'm yelling at the vacuum. So I like your naming convention. Let me bounce back to those Elgatos. I had the Elgatos, and again, this is probably my fault being so early of an adopter with them. I had issues initially with the connectivity to the Wi-Fi. So folks who may not know, the Elgato keys and the key airs actually also connect to your Wi-Fi network, and you can connect and control those through an application or through a Stream Deck. We'll talk about Stream Deck here in a minute. I was having issues with either my 5 gigahertz or my 2.4 gigahertz because I separate all of my studio gear off of my home network. I actually have everything in here on the 2.4. I have everything outside on the 5 gigahertz. So the outside cameras, all of the recording stuff outside. But in here, just the lights, that's all it is. Yeah. In here, it's just the lighting.
Yeah.
So I don't need that necessarily on that faster Wi-Fi network. But there was something going wrong, and I'm not very patient for a person, so I couldn't wait for a firmware update or whatever the case may be. So I sold them. But I'm now all Godox in here.
Really?
I've got 2 ES45, kind of the large panels with the diffusion going for the 2 fronts, and behind me I've got 4 of their TL60 light tubes. They're about 2.5 feet. So I've got those, and they're RGB. But again, these are all video lights, folks, as opposed to photo lights, or as opposed to just $10 lights that you get on Amazon. You actually get the equipment for the right purpose. So these are all video lights. It costs a little bit more, but I will put links to all of the equipment that Roy and I are talking about kind of in the description. Yeah. So look, we're only going to talk about stuff that we use, that we recommend, and that we would suggest you take a look at as well. We're not going to just recommend something that's out there because it's the most expensive or because it's on sale or anything of that nature. So it's only the stuff that's literally in this room that I'm going to make sure that we recommend.
Well, I was going to say, I've saved you guys the trouble. I bought all the stuff that was on sale, and it was garbage, and don't buy that. So
well, you and Victor, right here, he goes right. He bought 10 sets of lights before he finally settled on whatever he's using. So, and I know he knows what he's doing as well. He's probably got a killer setup going and
he's got 12
studio.
Cameras. So him and I tomorrow night are talking on my show about gear, and so anyway,
he's keeping the economy going, right? We're just we're just in his world. We're just watching him do what he does. We talked about lights. We talked about smart plugs, Casa. Talked about TP-Link, things of that nature. Those are critical. Smart extension cords. And Steve Worthy was in the comments. I was talking with him earlier this week about some smart extension cords that are HomeKit enabled. I mentioned about the Elgato Stream Deck, right? Yeah, so again, automation within your content creation environment. Do you have a Stream Deck?
I absolutely do.
Talk about it. I'm going to put you full screen so you can talk about it, because this thing is no joke, folks. If you don't have one, if you're thinking about getting one,
this is like the greatest thing. The Stream Deck, of course, I'm going to tell you, you cannot buy a Stream Deck that's big enough. It's not possible. So whatever size you think you want to buy, you want the next size. Trust me on that.
32 keys isn't big enough, right? No.
They've got one with like 4 buttons. I'm like, who'd want that? So I'll go with 15. And then after I got the 15, why didn't I get the 32? Why didn't I get the one with more buttons? Luckily, they added that paging feature.
Yes.
And so I take advantage of that. But on my Amazon wish list, I have the Elgato, the extra large one on the wish list. It goes on sale one day, or if Honey finds a deal on it, it's going to be mine. And I'll just sell this one. But it adds so much to the process. Whatever software you run, I run Ecamm. You can automate the scenes. You can automate switching between cameras. You can literally have a mute button. You can do go live. You can end the stream. It works with OBS. It works with Final Cut Pro. It has shortcuts for so many different applications that you use, and you can use that as part of your workflow to speed up the process. I do video editing with Final Cut Pro, and I use my Stream Deck to hit the B there to do the splice of the film, the video, and so it just helps out there. Or use it to choose the outer and the inner and the outer settings on a frame that I want to keep for the video editing. But it also works with DaVinci. So if you're Windows or Mac and you're using DaVinci Resolve, it has shortcuts for it as well. It has shortcuts
I use DaVinci. So I've got Final Cut Pro as well, but I have gravitated toward DaVinci within the last few months. I don't just feels different, but trying to teach myself something different. I know Final Cut, but I'm just trying to learn something as well. But
so I mean, it just makes my whole process. So when you're content creating, when you're live or doing a video, there's this concept of pattern disruption. And there's some people that say, the 8-second rule. I think 8 seconds is a little too frequent, but there's some people say the 8-second rule. Something needs to change on the screen every 8 seconds to keep the viewer's attention, because they're watching the video and if you're a boring talking head like me, then I need something to mix it up so they will keep watching my
All right.
boring talking head.
There you go.
And
How
so
about that? That
there
8
you go.
seconds? Oh,
And that's it. You got to
can't
have
take
that.
me anywhere, brother. Right?
It's lower
I'm that guy.
thirds. It's the lower thirds, or your logo popped up in the corner, or you hit a button on the Stream Deck that does a zoom in on you and zooms back out. Something to do a pattern disruption to keep people watching. And so the Stream Deck helps so much in that process for me. And so this is probably the second device I bought out of all the devices when I started, because I started off with a lowly C920 Logitech camera as my
nothing
live
wrong with
streaming
that.
camera.
Nothing wrong. Get in where, like I said, get in where you get in and start where you start. As you see, I'm a huge proponent of that as well, right? Changing and pattern disruption from an exercise and training perspective. I always call it muscle confusion. So you see, I've moved you and I from left and right and have things flying in. And you're right, that matters. And I think that, again, keeps the engagement, that keeps the attention, that uses both sides of the brain. Using the Stream Deck just makes everything so seamless in terms of being able to automate your environment. I like the fact that you mentioned, and I was going to get into that, the fact that it's not just lights. It's not just triggers like having lower thirds pop up. It's actually also application shortcuts. So the Final Cut Pro and things of that nature. So it's actually a plethora of things that you can do with a device like a Stream Deck. Now, I've got the 32 key, so I've got the big fella, and I've got the foot pedal. Let me tell you something. Hold on. See, let me tell you, the foot pedal.
Yeah.
The foot pedal is the truth. Listen, I didn't think it was going to be, but I'm down here and I'm using my feet right now, and you don't know what's going on. It's the coolest thing since sliced bread, brother. Just go ahead, spend a little $89. Get you the foot pedal if you haven't got it. I stand at my desk a lot too, so that's probably me. So and makes it very, very easy for doing that. But yeah, so I got the foot pedal going, and that's pulling up the comments and pulling up like that lower third that you just saw. So that right there.
I was gonna say I want the foot pedal, but I can't dance, and I think you have to have some ability to dance to use the foot pedal properly.
I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that alone. But there we go. Folks, you never know. Again, you don't know what you're going to get on these kind of streams when I come on live. We're giving you all kind of information here. If you got any questions for Roy, please put a Q in front of it, because I'm old and I can't see things unless they pop by with some type of. I need someone like Paul Duncan in here. I need to give some more people the wrench. I got a couple folks that got the wrench. I need to get some more folks the wrench. Sammy, I see you, man. We're going to talk. Yeah. What is this? Victor says, I have the 32 and 15 plus the iPhone app. So you are excessive, and I want to use the iPhone app myself, but I am not a fan of subscriptions. Yep. And with the mobile app, you have to what is it, $3.99 every month, something like that, for the functionality?
It's something like that. Yeah, I don't like subscriptions either. And like, give me something I can kick.
Yeah. Let me pay for it one time, and then if it gets better, maybe I'll pay for an upgrade, but don't keep asking me to pay for it each and every month. I think Elgato is missing an opportunity by charging folks, because they come out with enough product and infrastructure, right? All of the mounts, all of the arms, all of the lighting, things of that. So they've got a good business model, but charging me for the mobile app every month, I don't like that. Okay. Stream Decks, lighting, air. We talked around air, but I think you got to talk about air too, because keeping your environment at the right temperature so that all this equipment. Look, that's why I'm down at the small window right now. I'm sweating here right now, even though I've got the AC running and I got the whole environment set at a focus mode of where the AC is at 73 degrees, but I've got fans pumping onto my cameras right now just to make sure they don't overheat, because this 8x10 office right now it's 82 degrees in here right now. I've got this big.
Wow.
Is Alec here? I've got Alec's camera. Hold on. Yeah, I'll pull it up.
I was gonna say that's that information that determines what mic you have, because you have to have the mic that won't pick up your AC and your fans running.
Yes.
It has to
Yes,
be
sir.
a mic that only picks up when you talk directly into it. And so luckily this mic does, as does the one that you have, the Shure SM7B. Yeah. But anyway, that's a great mic too. But so that way I can run the AC, because I have the AC running right now
Right.
as I'm on. And so far, unless you've heard it, I've never heard it on any of my recordings, because this mic does such a good job.
Yeah, no,
So, yeah.
all the Shure products, all the Rode products, all of the Hiles. Sammy's here. He knows I'm talking about warm audio. He knows I'm talking about Neumann. Look, again, it's one of those things you get what you pay for, and you can actually configure and control external circumstances and noise gates and things like that. I was trying to get my mobile phone to show the camera, but since I'm running iOS 16 developers beta, it's acting flaky right now. So do as I say and not as I do. Don't install developers code on your primary devices, folks, even though you are testing, because it may break midstream. What else we got? There we go. Montel Allen, good to see you, man. Appreciate you for joining. Listen, that man right there, my co-host for Team No Sleep, he just did an amazing show the other night talking about college sports and college recruiting and things like that. So he's creating content, building out his studio as well. I went to San Diego for Social Media Marketing World. Took this guy, Montel Allen, a suitcase full of gear. I took him light stands. I took him microphones. I took all kind of stuff. So he's building out that infrastructure as well. So I'm glad you're joining to hear this conversation about, again, building out your studio, making it a smart studio, smart environment, things like that. What else do you use, Roy? Because I mean, there's so much, but I want to at least have three things that we talked about, right? So again, we talked about lights. We talked about kind of hardware and infrastructure from a Stream Deck perspective, smart assistants. But what else are you using to control your workflow?
Those are the biggest things. I mean, I have a Sony ZV-10. So I managed to get one of those before there was a rush on them. And this is one of the greatest cameras I've ever used. Considering I started off with my cell phone and a Logitech C920. It's the greatest camera I've ever owned, but I've had other cameras too but just weren't worthy for content creation due to complications. I've got a Cam Link, of course. It's pretty much, I've bought so many of the garbage capture cards. For $25, you go on Alibaba and you get the $25 capture card.
Yeah.
Don't bother. Go ahead and spend $100-something and get the Cam Link 4K. Or if you're really doing game capture, you may want to buy the latest capture device they came out with. But it's, just makes my whole process so much easier. I like this camera. Ecamm has some automation capability. I can do a scene. So I'll use my scenes inside Ecamm as automation, because I'll have a scene where the camera is zoomed in and then another scene where the camera is zoomed out. And, again, trying to do that pattern disruption. And so those, I used to have a lot more things automated with my Alexa devices around my desk. Like I said, I dismantled everything, so I've got to put it all back together. But probably the Stream Deck, this microphone, that camera are the three pieces that make this amazing for me. And lights, we're talking about lights. You can make a bad camera fantastic with great lighting. If you have the lighting that you need, you can make the low list of cameras look amazing. And so, I do like being on the wall. And that's the other thing. A lot of content creators, every time they go in the room, they have to go set everything back up. So it's key to have that place where you can set everything up. And I like the fact I can just walk into my office and say, turn on Roy's desk, and it's showtime. I'm ready to go. Everything turns on and I'm ready to go. And so that just makes life so much easier as a content creator to have everything set up. It's just a matter of turning on the camera. Let's start.
Let me ask you about this, and then this just popped in my head when you stated that. How is everything kind of attached to your desk? Are you using tripods? Are you using kind of an auto pole, or are you using kind of the desk clamps, things like that?
I'm using desk clamps. Originally, everything I bought came with a tripod.
Yeah.
But they're pretty flimsy. So I built a custom desk. I went and got some steel pipes and kind of built it, and I got a piece of remaindered wood and sanded it down and put it it's some birch, 5/8 birch. That's real nice. And then I bought desk clamps, and then I have a mounting kit where I have 3 monitors on my desk. So I've got 2 monitors. Well, I've got 3 monitors total, and during my day job, these 2 monitors on this side join the party, and then the middle one becomes the content creation monitor, in the evenings when the work is over. So
I love it.
that's and I can move these around, and then so it's a good setup. I do wish the middle monitor moved more. It's more stable. So I had to sneak the camera through. I have a mounting bracket that brings the camera through. So everything's mounted to the desk. I have a camera boom arm. So I have a second camera over my desk whenever I do desk shots. I use the old C920 for that. I'm probably getting ready to replace that with a face cam, Elgato face cam, replaced with that. Though my dream is to get probably like a ZV1 and put there to use as my desk camera, because I think that's a great overhead camera. And you don't have to buy any lenses for it. And for a fixed camera, it would be perfect for that. It's got a good zoom on it. And so
I concur, because that's what's over my head right now.
That is a great setup. And that's what, I used to do a lot of unboxing videos. I haven't been doing any lately. I've been doing mostly tutorials. And so, I have the Elgato Thunderbolt port. It's an Element 4.
Yes.
I use it as my hub because I've got a Mac Mini with 16 gig and a terabyte of storage, and that M1 Mac Mini is the bomb. When I do,
you gotta have it.
Everything I do, it handles it. It never screams. It never complains. It just does it. It's solid.
Let me ask you. I'm just going to just throw my whole questions out from a runner show perspective, because you're bringing in some interesting points that, again, I think that shouldn't be overlooked. Now, the Mac Mini that you have, is that solely dedicated to streaming content creation, or do you have multiple devices for each has its own purpose, right? I'm saying, so that M1 Mac Mini, is that the same one that you do all your Final Cut Pro analysis on as well? Okay.
I do all my content creation
on
as Mac Mini.
Though,
See, I had a 2015 13-inch MacBook Pro, and I'd finally gotten Final Cut, and when it takes 2 hours to render a 10-minute movie, it's like, this isn't going to work. So I finally talked to my financial consultant, and she said, yes, go ahead, get the M1 Mac Mini. And and then my life was better for it.
Your financial consultant is probably similar to mine. I always say I wear the pants, but she holds the belt. So there you go. I'll just leave that right there, right? No, it's good. It's good stuff. Let's see, Victor says,
I couldn't do this without her. She supports me. She's awesome.
Gotta have that, right?
I've even gotten her to be on my channel, so she's been on some of the videos on the channel, so it's a lot of fun. She was here earlier, telling you about using the echoes to announce through the house, hey, dinner's ready. So
was that? Oh, hold on, is that right? Hold on, let me see.
That was Donna. That's my wife. So
well, tell her to come back. Oh my God, no. we want the real story. We want to know exactly what's coming in the Amazon shopping cart.
I do have an Amazon addiction I've been working on. I'm doing the 12-step program. I think you have to buy like 12 things a month.
It's okay. It's a safe space.
So
yeah, you can talk. I can't look. I got one finger pointing at you and 3 pointing back at me, because before we went live, I had things in my cart as well. I'm trying not to get the gear acquisition syndrome that folks like Mr. Worthy is imparting on a lot of us. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Hopefully you're still in the comments, but let me I guess bring it back home with that statement right there, right? Yeah, we as creators we've talked about different pieces of our studio, and especially in terms of automating our studio, making our workflows more seamless, more to whereas that's not what we focus on. We focus on the content, we focus on the community, and we make sure that that's top notch. All of this stuff around us that's ancillary, and we want to make that as seamless and as automated and as carefree to where we don't have to worry about that
Yes.
during the time that we're live. However, started with the C920. Now you got the ZV1. Now you've got newer lights. Now, right, you started with, you don't stay stagnant, right? We as, again, early adopters, we as technologists, we as content creators, we within the industry who are seeing ourselves as subject matter experts and evangelists or advocates, it just makes sense for us to continue to evolve, continue to level up, right? Next month, I got these ES45 from Godox right now. I may see something different that I want to level up. These are pretty cool, though. I don't know. Let me use another analogy. Something else, though, right? To continue to maintain and stay in front of the curve, because if we're going to be looked at again as that technology evangelist or that subject matter expert to tell other folks who are trying to do the exact or similar things, we need to know that, no, don't do that, because those break when you have an Android phone connected to a 5 gigahertz network. And if you're using Netgear instead of TP, all of that stuff, you can't really read that in an instruction manual, and there's not going to be other YouTube videos. You actually have to talk to someone you trust and someone who's actually gone through the headache and the pain and gotten all the gray hair from going through the experience. So that's my rationalization for staying active on Amazon. So,
well, it's that fine line. I like to look at when I buy stuff now, I consider it a strategic investment. What's going to move me forward? I mean, for example, I used to be an avid hiker. I want to get back into that. And to buy the ultralight gear was really expensive. So every year I would buy one new piece of ultralight gear and add it to my hiking setup. And so every year my hiking was more productive because I bought something that made it better, lighter, and I was capable of hiking a further distance because of that. So in my content creation journey, it's the same thing. You start with what you have, and then I realized early on, hey, if I buy lights, and I started with several. I had a giant ring light, one of the newer ring lights. That was what I started with.
Yeah.
Great light, but horrible. No automation whatsoever. You can't remote control anything on it.
Great light, but horrible.
Yeah. So if you need to fix something, you got to crawl behind the desk and turn the knobs on it and bring it down, or it's too much glare. So I got to put the orange screens on it to kind of tone it down. And then, I found the newers and I bought those, but then they were too hot. So I had put the boxes on them to try to cool them down. And then, I bought the Mac Mini because I was editing video, because live video does good, but my recorded videos do so much better on my channel. People are looking for something. They're doing a search, how to this.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make sure that when I did the videos, I had the production quality and I could do the videos quickly, because I couldn't afford a 10-minute video to take 2 hours.
Yeah.
I just couldn't if I was going to do this. And I was committed, and I get very involved. Anytime I pick something up, I'm going to go to the nth degree and learn every facet about it I possibly can, because that's just the way I'm all consuming. My wife would say I'm kind of the extremist. The world is either white or black. There's no gray. I'm going to go to one extreme or I'm going to go to the other. And so that's just where I'm at here. And so I am slowly building the studio that I want. And I have a great setup now. I'm very pleased with it. I did an episode back in January that talked about how much money I spent last year getting started on this crazy journey. So it's got the Mac Mini cost and all the things I subscribe to, like, Canva Pro and all these different things. Just having to go through so much to get to here. And, but now along the way, I've learned, I don't need to subscribe to this, or I don't need that. So it's time to purge and get just what makes sense.
I love it. I love it. Let's talk about where folks can find you and find all of that information. So I got your channel up, but is this really kind of the go-to place for all things
this is
Tech
the go-to
Troublemaker?
place. Yeah. You can go to techtroublemaker.live and it will automatically take you to my YouTube page, or you can go search on YouTube for Tech Troublemaker and it will take you. This is my primary focus right now is YouTube. You can't do everything well. I am on other social platforms, but this is where my focus is. And so those other platforms, I try to drive everything toward the center, so to speak. And YouTube is the center of my creation universe right now.
I love that.
And until it doesn't make sense to go with Facebook and other platforms as a primary until I master this one. Because otherwise I'm just giving you half effort for the other platforms. That's the way I feel about it.
All right, you just opened a can of worms there, and I'm gonna take. So you're coming back because that right there is something that I think we're many of us are. I'm not gonna say struggling with, but are pondering. Right.
Right.
We hear that. Yeah, cut it up, put it out there, micro content. You got to be on TikTok. Why?
Yeah.
You got to be on Snapchat. You got to be on all these different platforms. You got to do. If you do video, well, you got to do audio too, right? You got to chop it up, make it a podcast. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But it's got to be on Instagram. It's got to be on Facebook. It's got to be at all these different places. But repurposing micro content doesn't mean copying content. So this exact live stream, I'm not going to push it to my podcast exactly the way it is. There's going to be a little bit of editing done to it. Before I push it to an Instagram reel, there's going to be some splicing and things like that. I want to bring you back and have that conversation, if you don't mind. I just roped you in. Yeah. You're coming. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to talk to your wife now. I
was just honored you got me. You asked me to be here to start with. So if you want me back twice, I'm doubly honored. So
I tell you what, let's do this. Let me ask you to answer one question before we go. And Mr. Montel Allen is asking, if on a limited budget, where would you suggest people start on building their studio? What should be the first purchase?
The first purchase is audio. You can get by with your cell phone camera as a camera. You can take 4 or 5 lamps in your house and get the lighting to happen for your videos. But the audio, your viewers will forgive you for bad video. They will forgive you for bad lighting. They will not forgive you for bad audio. If it's scratchy or anything at all, they will watch 10 seconds and then they will bolt. And you've got to stop them from scrolling away. You've got to keep them there. And so invest first in a microphone. That is absolutely the best investment you can make.
Roy speaks the truth, folks. Tech Troublemaker is dropping gems and knowledge on you right there. Like I said, hopefully you got your pen and pad, or just come back for the replay and watch that section again right there, because that is the truth right there. Tina, thank you for joining us. You were on the road. You're at the cafe now. Get a medium latte for me. Almond milk is my choice, but and a piece of lemon meringue. And see, there I go again, squirrel. Like I'm going all over the place.
Hey Tina, how you doing? Thanks for coming by.
See, I'm crazy. She'll probably never come back when I'm here, but she'll be like, who is this crazy guy? Right?
It's a great channel. Everybody needs to come here. So, I've watched a lot of your videos, and then when you asked me to be on, I watched even more to make sure. Okay, I hope I do a good job here. So I need to pass the audition. So.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Listen, this has been amazing. Just wanted to again put it out there, right? I never like to assume, and I want to give people their flowers as we have these conversations. The stuff that you're doing, Roy, just matters. The stuff that you're talking about matters. And we spoke a lot of truths that hopefully folks take into consideration and take to heart, because we've talked about privacy, we've talked about security, we've talked about platforms, we talked about what you should buy, what you shouldn't buy. Right. Yeah, right. You can go out. I can put the Amazon.com site up right now and point you to some cheapo lights and a $15 microphone. I can point you to a $15 microphone. This microphone right here that I'm using. So your microphone was $249, I believe.
Yep.
I had the MB7, right? Is she listening? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Right. Mine was $400. That's still not expensive when you really think about what we're doing. Heck, I'm looking at the Neumann, whatever that is. It's $1,600. The one that I'm probably, once I reach this next particular membership and subscriber milestone that I've set for myself, I'm going with the Neumann. So again, there we go again, talking about leveling up, always trying to improve and always trying to have the right products. But again, Get in where you fit in, get the stuff that resonates. Start with that audio, kind of like Roy was saying, man, because again, folks will move off of you if you don't sound right. Heck, when I go to the gym, I hardly listen to music. I'm listening to podcasts, and I'm listening to my counterpart streams. I'm listening to your stream. I'm listening to Steve's stream. I'm listening to, Nash Borland and Walter Strong, things like that. So I'm listening to my counterparts. So if you don't sound right, sorry, yeah. I'm moving on. What's coming up next, brother? I know you pointed us and talked to us about your channel, but what's coming up next? You got any series in terms of what you're building, YouTube analytics? I see you did that before. You did a run of show. Anything particular that you got coming up on the channel?
This week's going to be gear. So I go live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. This week's episode is about gear for your YouTube channel. I'm going to have Victor on from Basic NAS, and we're going to talk about, we'll probably talk about the 12 cameras in his house, but we're going to focus on basically what you need to get going with live streaming and just kind of more on that. My goal of late is to help people get started. Then week after next, it'll be an episode with Tall Boy to talk about producing a live stream, producing a YouTube channel, producing shows for your YouTube channel. And then the week after there, there's going to be a big week where I'll blow out about Canva and how to make all your lower thirds, how to make your background scenes and everything using Canva, how to make your channel art. Just going to really cover on that. There's some things that Canva doesn't make easy, and I've got some hack arounds to make it possible for you to make that channel art, for example. That's probably the hardest thing in Canva to make, is that they give you the dimensions, but they don't give you the location to put things to make it perfect. So
subscribe to this man's channel, folks. All right. This man is bringing value, and listen, I'm gonna be watching. I know all the folks that you mentioned right there. You got Tall Boy coming. Okay, I'm gonna come there and I'm gonna heckle from the back. I'll be there. I'll be heckling from the back of the room. But that's good, man. So folks, just listen. I'm gonna put all of those links for Roy's content, his YouTube, his Instagram, and yes, your Amazon author page as well. Yeah, I'm gonna put that on there too.
That book's a little old. I don't know if you. Right. That book's from back in the 3.x days of WordPress.
That's all right. It's all right. You've got an author page. I'm putting a link to.
It's true. I have some other books I need to get published. Roy just sitting around waiting. So
it's all good, brother. I appreciate you, man. Listen, thank you for everything you do again. I look forward to having you back on, folks. If you found any value in this conversation, share it with someone. If you didn't find value in this, let me know, right? So I can continue to evolve and continue to get better. And we will be back next week for another episode. But until then, take care and be good to yourselves, folks.